All right, welcome back. It's the Allegheny Health Network Nightly Sports Call. Pittsburgh CW, call us. Let us know what you think about the developments. And right now, it's a 4-on-4 situation. Some really nasty stuff as Brian Russ got hit in the face by Eric Carlson. Both were penalized, but Carlson hit him right in the face, Ron. I thought that was not a hockey play, but then again, today
we see a lot of things that aren't hockey plays, right? But they're not going to call much now, I wouldn't think, Bob, with the game on the line and less than 7 minutes to go.
All right, let's go out to Will in Monroeville. Hello, Will.
Gentlemen, how are you?
All right.
Oh, man. One question. I mean, with all of these no calls to all the hits in the head that we are not getting from the league, now the league takes the goal away that clearly seemed like a goal. Guys, I got to wonder, do they really want the Penguins to repeat, or do they want these guys to face Nashville?
I can't imagine they want Ottawa and Nashville to be their Stanley Cup.
Maybe they do in Canada, but they don't want it nationally in this country.
I can't imagine the NHL would want that. I would think the ratings would be absolutely abysmal for that. At least if you have the Penguins there, and I don't believe in favoritism. At least if the Penguins were there, you know, you got Crosby, you got Malkin, you got the face of the league. I don't think they want Ottawa to win necessarily.
But I would love to hear an explanation of why they waved that goal off. I would like to know what they saw in Trevor Daley that made them think he was interfering. I mean, it's one thing to interfere when you go into it. He's trying to battle for the... Well, he's going
Bob,
for the
I'm trying to explain to you, and you're talking over me. The first
cantankerous tonight.
You are cantankerous. He jabbed, and I'm not saying it was. I don't think it was. I'm just trying. The first time he jabbed the stick into like the guy's gut, and that's all I can think of.
How many times have you seen
that? He didn't run into.
How many times have you seen that?
A lot. I think I'm with you. It was a bad call. I didn't like it either.
Don't they owe an explanation?
And it was a fabulous play by Daley to sweep that thing in.
It
was just tremendous.
And it was a good play by Ole Mata to keep the puck in the zone to begin with. If you go back and look at the origin of that play. John in Franklin Park. Hey, John.
Hey, how are you?
What's up?
Hey, looked at the stats tonight. Andrew McCutchen, he was 0-4 hitting .201, and he left
stranded
7 on base.
7 guys. I'm watching that. Every time he steps up with the bases loaded, it's an out.
He is leaving so many people on base this year. They got to drop him. Hurdle, great coach and everything, but you know what? And I believe McCutchen should stay in the lineup, but you got to drop him.
He can't keep hitting in that if he's going to keep doing that. Now, it's deceiving because a lot of people will look and say, oh, he has 20 RBIs and 6 home runs. However, if you look at some of these numbers that make you look deeper into it, he leads the Pirates and National League Central Division batters with runners in scoring position, Ron. He's not getting the job done, and he's had plenty of opportunity. You
know, he had a good weekend. He had a couple games with multi-hits, and you think he's starting to break out of it. Just not getting it done. You're right. I don't know how else you can say it to move him out. Last year, they benched him for a week. Not a week, a weekend. Maybe that's what they got to try to do it again. That seemed to help him because he turned it around after that. He didn't play worth a darn the first 4 months of the year, but the last 2 months he was pretty good.
Exactly.
A little too late, but pretty good.
Brad from Duncanville is up next. Hey, Brad.
Hi, Bob. Hi, Ron. How are you guys?
Good.
All right.
I'm very disappointed, and I have my two Penguin points and a Pirate question. That should have been a goal for Trevor Daley.
Yeah.
We agree.
And I think Eric Carlson, for that hit that he gave to Russ, I think it was?
Yeah, he hit him right in the face and he bloodied his face. I don't know why that's not a penalty.
And I think
not just coincidental, by the way.
No, I think that was on purpose. I think he should serve a game suspension.
No, they're not going to do that because unless you bring out a machine gun anymore, it's not going to happen. So.
Okay, and my Pirate question is, who else can play right field for McCutchen and who's all
He's
left
playing
on the
center.
Center, I mean.
Well, at this point,
they don't have
one
right now.
Osuna maybe, but I don't know.
They
don't
have
one.
anyone.
So they're kind of, they're really in bad position here with Marte out and Polanco not in the lineup again. And until that changes, what options do you have?
Now, you don't have any, and that's the problem.
All right, we're going to go out to Swissvale. We have Kenny on the line. What's up, Kenny? Welcome to the Sports Call.
Hey, how you doing, Bob and Ron?
Good, thanks.
Just a little frustrated. I know you guys talked about this before about the goal that they disallowed. Maybe I missed something. We can't take it back, but that's just aggravating as heck.
I just want to hear an explanation. Nobody seems to give one after games. I think they should be on the hook to explain exactly what they were looking at. I'd like to just know, just for informational purposes. All right, Kenny, thank you. Appreciate that. By the way, the other thing that happened today, Ron, we had the first day of OTAs, which by
how about that?
itself isn't anything to talk about because it's just like spring
Well, this
practice
is significant, though, with Martavis
Bryant is back, and I thought he handled himself beautifully today. He answered all the questions, and he also revealed that he gets tested sometimes 2 to 3 times a week.
Right.
I knew he got tested quite a bit. I didn't know it was that much.
Goes to counseling once a week.
He sounded like a man who really, truly has changed.
Well,
his
I mean, the
image
proof
in
is,
his life.
what they say.
It's been a year, though.
I know, but it's just, it's all talk at this point. I'll feel a lot better about it when he's in the lineup in September in Cleveland. But so far, so good, and I, too, was impressed by how he handled himself.
Wouldn't you agree that the toughest road he was going to face was the beginning?
Probably.
And he's gotten through that. Now he's back, and you would think.
He said he just had a son today, 7 weeks old, and he's trying to get his life together. And he said he never watched the games last year. He said he felt like he let the team down too much, let himself down. Thought that was a great answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought he was tremendous talking to the media. Let's go to Randy in Johnstown. Hey, Randy, how you doing?
Howard, good. I'm just talking about McCutchen. I mean, how long are we going to coddle him? I mean,
what would be your
he
plan
should be
B?
batting 6th or 7th.
So
I think drop him in the order, and I mean he missed a fly ball tonight. I think he should have caught. Also, he's batting 210. I'd like to see across the league what number 3 hitters are batting 210 or 211.
He's batting 201 right now, so he's down.
Well, okay, but
right above the Mendoza
across the league, I'd like to see a number 3 hitter who's batting that. And also, I heard Bob Walk the other day saying that Cervelli's batting a solid 225. I mean, what is a solid 225?
It's a watered down what it used to be. I'm sorry, but when you're batting this kind of, there should be no defense for it. I'm not saying you got to be a 300 hitter, but you can't be hitting like Andrew McCutchen. He's got to be better than 201. We're at the end, almost approaching the end of May.
We're talking 2 months into the season. It's not a bad start anymore. It's almost a third of the season. It's been awful. I think what he meant about Cervelli is I guess people that watch him all the time say he's hit a lot of hard balls that have gone for outs, that his swing is good. I don't know. I look at the results as well.
We have a lot of tweets and angry tweets. Larry Doby says, a hockey play is a punch to the head or a stick to the head? Really? A penalty is when you touch someone going by you. Interference. They call that. They don't call hits. Daniel Clayton says, refs got the game they wanted. Screw calling the game correctly now. And I mean, this is what most people think. I just think overall, and this is, I think, just my objective opinion, I think overall hockey officiating in the entire playoffs has been taking a step backwards overall.
It has.
Agree?
43 saves tonight for Craig Anderson. A little different than getting benched in the first period
This is the best one
after one the other night, right?
Yep, and that's what they needed from him. They needed a response, and he's got one.
He's kept them in the game. And
Goes
got
to show you, too, Ron, this is now how many games we've seen where wide margins of victory by one team only to lose the next game.
Absolutely.
So it can happen.
That's why you can't assume that it was going to be just because they win the other one 7-0. Everybody thinks, oh, Ottawa, they're not as good.
It's one game.
It's one game. If they lose tonight, it comes down to one game. And I can remember some games, 7s in Pittsburgh, where they didn't get it done. Montreal, Tampa Bay.
All you have to do is hit the post a couple of times and
get a bad call. The 5-on-3 killed them tonight too. Cole took was that a high stick penalty?
Stick, right.
Even a bad Ottawa power play, you give it to them 5-on-3, they're going to score.
We're due for a break. We'll take it. Come back with more right here live on Pittsburgh CW.